In the sacred books and the traditions of all nations are found diverse accounts of people who, versed in occult knowledge, were able to perform all sorts of so-called miracles. The generally accepted belief is that either these accounts are untrue, or the ones who were able to perform those miracles were endowed with supernatural powers. The fact is, those accounts are generally true, though sometimes exaggerated through the enthusiasm of their recorders. Only the powers used, instead of being supernatural, were simply natural powers whose origin and character were not understood except by the select few who employed them. Jealously guarded throughout the ages, the secret of how to use those powers and forces has been revealed to the bulk of humanity only now, because only now has humanity as a whole progressed to that stage of evolution where it is ready to know what before it could merely believe blindly. In times so remote that their history has descended to us only dimly through legend and myth, the knowledge of these powers by rare individuals invested those individuals with such a transcendent glory in the eyes of the marveling multitude that they were considered gods descended to earth. Thus originated the first anthropomorphic concept of divinity. Vishnu and Siva, the dual manifestation of Brahma, the Absolute, the great causeless cause itself, were using the power of universal life energy continually throughout the whole of their earthly life, and the wonderful feats they were able to accomplish led their admiring followers to deify them and erect temples for their worship. Rama, the great conqueror and at the same time liberator of India, who penetrated at the head of his Aryan hosts into the heart of the Indian peninsula to found there a powerful empire of the Caucasian race, used universal life energy to achieve his gigantic task. To him it was given to free the white peoples from their bondage to the black race which then ruled the world, and to make them the dominant power they now are. Belonging to the great body of Druids, or tree worshippers, which had existed from time immemorial throughout all Europe, Rama received the secret knowledge of how to use universal life energy on his initiation into that cult. Krishna, the great teacher and uplifter of humanity, whose amazing achievements are still vivid in the racial memory of the Hindus, used universal life energy incessantly and explained also to his beloved friend and disciple, Arjuna, how to apply it to the varied problems of daily life. This discourse on universal laws and forces, given on the eve of the famous Battle of Kuru and on the battlefield itself, is preserved for posterity in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most beautiful and inspired records of all time. Prince Siddhartha, during his direct initiation amid the mystic silence of an Indian jungle into the higher knowledge, became conscious of his oneness with universal life energy, and from that moment was known as Buddha, the Blessed One, the great teacher and friend of humanity. Jesus the Christ, throughout the whole of his earthly mission, continually used universal life energy. Through it he transformed water into wine at the wedding feast, multiplied the 5 loaves and 2 small fishes for the feeding of the multitude, stilled the storm on the Galilean Sea, brought the dead to life, and performed countless other miracles, among them his own resurrection. On the Mount of Transfiguration he raised the rate of vibration of his body to such an extent that not only did that body become luminous, but even his garments glistened like silver. He predicted the general use among human beings of universal life energy as a healing and harmonizing power when he said, "The things that I do you shall do, and greater things also, because I go to the Father." He clearly stated that his age was not ready to receive complete knowledge of this power when he said, Many things have I to tell you, but you cannot bear them now. His words, and I shall send you the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of truth, which will teach you all things, are fulfilled now, in our modern times, through the knowledge which is brought to the world in the teachings of the light-bearers, of which these lessons are a part. The Holy Ghost, the universal breath of life, is that universal life energy whose use is explained in this course. The Spirit of truth is the true knowledge which now lifts from human consciousness the triple veil of ignorance, superstition, and fear. Moses, versed in the secret knowledge which the hierophants, or high priests of the Egyptian temples, taught him when he was educated at the court of the Pharaoh, made vigorous and unceasing use of that power. By directing universal life energy, he was able to make the waters of the Red Sea divide. With it he brought forth water out of a rock in the desert. From it also he drew the strength to hold in check those nomad tribes who persistently harassed the Israelites in their journey through the wilderness. The proverbial strength of Samson, which depended so much on his luxurious growth of hair, was due to his ability to use that same hair as a wireless station whereby to contact universal life energy. The harmonizing power of this force saved the life of Daniel when he was thrown into the lion's den, quieting even the wild beasts. Its preserving qualities kept intact in the midst of the flames the bodies of the 3 youths who were flung into the fiery furnace. Elijah brought back to life the son of the poor widow by directing through his body into the body of the dead boy currents of universal life energy. Invariably, the progressiveness of a race or people is determined by the extent to which universal life energy finds expression through individuals of that race, and especially through those individuals to whom its destinies are entrusted. Some of the great Indian chiefs, famed leaders of the Red Race, whose exploits have descended through legend and story, possessed the secret of that power. Even the Polynesian race, inhabiting the islands of the Pacific, was once, through its highest representatives, acquainted with the use of that force. The Queen of Sheba, coming from the heart of Africa to visit Solomon, knew how to use universal life energy. So also did Solomon, who through it won for himself an immortal renown as the wisest and richest of all rulers. Though king of a young and small nation, he was able to employ his own power of attraction to such effect that he secured the most advantageous alliances with the foremost nations of his time. The unusual energy and personal magnetism of Semiramis, Queen of Babylon, was drawn from the same universal source of all power, as was also that of another famous queen, Cleopatra. Alexander the Great, Hannibal, Caesar, Napoleon, and scores of other famous men and women became great through the constant though probably unconscious use of universal life energy. In contrast to the examples cited above, we may consider the case of China. Lao Tzu, China's great philosopher, who lived some 6 centuries before Christ, was able, because of his intense love of nature, to perceive its universal forces and laws. Though he tried hard to disseminate that knowledge among his own people, he failed. Even his friends misunderstood him, because his knowledge was too much in advance of his time. Another philosopher, Confucius, a contemporary of Lao Tzu, succeeded in giving to the Chinese a system of ethics based exclusively on mind and appealing solely to the intellect. Yet the decline and final cessation of all progress in China dates from the time of the acceptance of that system. The teachings of Confucius have ruled the lives of hundreds of millions of people for over 25 centuries, But now at the last the infinitely greater and teachings of Lao Tzu are emerging from obscurity into clearly understood relief against the dawn of the new knowledge rising on the world through the medium of the light bearers. Evidence that a vague realization of the existence of universal life energy prevailed even in the so-called Dark Ages, the period of widespread intellectual stagnation, is seen in the persistent search by alchemists of medieval times for the elixir of life. The elixir they sought was in fact universal life energy, which the limited material concepts of that age could visualize only in the form of a liquid. In modern times, more than ever before, energy and vitality are not only appreciated but very urgently needed. The demand for them increases in proportion as the demands of our intense modern life upon the forces of the individual increase. The extraordinary capacity for work and the unusual personal magnetism of some of our present-day scientists, captains of industry and leaders in all branches of human activities can be explained only by the fact that, consciously or unconsciously, they were able to contact the unlimited supply of universal life energy. In this connection, a brief survey of the most prominent world figures, especially of today, would reveal the fact that almost invariably they are what is known as self-made, born usually of humble parents, in comparative poverty and in an environment distinguished chiefly by its harshness and bleak opposition to large ambitions. Their starts in life were full of trials and handicaps of the most discouraging nature, yet their unquenchable vitality, enthusiasm and perseverance were such as to enable them to surmount every difficulty, overcome every obstacle in their path to success. Anyone who approaches men like Edison, Marconi, Charles Schwab, Ford or the like, cannot help but be impressed by two dominant traits which they all possess in common, namely, great energy, expressing itself in extraordinary vitality of body, mind and soul, and an unusual personal charm. Through their energy and the magnetism of their own personality, they were able to attract all the necessary elements to create a wealth which brought remarkable prosperity not only to themselves, but to their countries also. Perhaps nowhere is the quest for replenishment of one's vital forces more clearly illustrated than on the stage and in the moving picture studios of today. Experience has produced numberless devices for counteracting the tremendous nervous drain on those engaged in the art of portraying emotions, and chief among these is the remarkable stimulating power of music. For that reason, in some of the large studios, orchestras are kept whose duty it is to play appropriate music during the taking of a scene. The remarkable harmonizing and strengthening effects of these musical vibrations, low as they are in the vibratory scale, are merely an indication of what can be accomplished if one is able to contact the infinitely higher and stronger vibrations of universal life energy. When actors will use universal life energy itself instead of its very feeble expression in sound vibrations, not only will the histrionic results they obtain be much better, but their own health will also be preserved and improved to an extraordinary degree. The stimulation and inspiration, moreover, instead of subsiding at the end of the scene, will persist throughout their daily life and will advance the whole tenor of their existence outside the theater as well as in it. The astonishingly youthful appearance of some luminaries of the stage who, by the calendar, are far past their prime, is due to something more fundamental than makeup. Their features genuinely reflect the youthfulness of the spirit within, a spirit kept young and buoyant through an exceptional ability to contact and use, even though unconsciously, the universal life energy. If such rewards are secured from the unconscious use of that power, how much greater ought to be the rewards of a conscious and intelligent application of it. The success of those individuals can be emulated by any normal persons who will use universal life energy in connection with their work. All human beings born into this world are endowed with certain latent qualities which can be developed, together with the power to contact universal life energy, which can be used for the development of those qualities. Therefore, no matter how limited one may appear to be at the start, there is hope for anyone who will make proper use of that force. This holds true regardless of how humble one's condition or profession may be, or how devoid of prospects. There is no avenue of human activities in which universal life energy, constantly and intelligently used, will not strike out a way to prominence. For instance, take a street cleaner. Though engaged in what is considered one of the humblest of occupations, he is by no means cut off from ample possibilities for success. His road, like all others of a constructive nature, points up. All he needs is the energy and determination to push along it to the top. An ordinary street cleaner who uses that force will soon find himself growing stronger in energy, intelligence, and ambition. He will begin to perceive and take advantage of opportunities to which he had been blind before. The relation between present causes and their probable future effects will become clearer to him. He will discover the larger possibilities and broader scope of his work. And by availing himself intelligently of every opening, he will be able to shape an upward road to more and more responsible positions until eventually, perhaps, he will become the head of that department in his community. In such a position, he can not only improve the sanitary conditions of that city, but can also contribute in general to the well-being of his fellow citizens. Thus he will become a valuable influence for progress both to his own community and to humanity at large. As a natural consequence, fame and prosperity will be his reward. This is a rational and very possible prospect, typical of the possibilities that exist in the most unassuming occupations. However, many obstacles may exist between the beginning and the end of the road. There is always a way to surmount them. Ally yourself to universal life energy. Look where your road leads and set yourself confidently to the business of getting there. With that force to help you, nothing will be able to stop you or turn you back. Exercises. As exercises for this lesson, continue the star exercise, relaxation, silence, and the mental contact with universal life energy, as described in the previous lessons. Questions and answers. 1. To what basic cause must be attributed the achievements of great men and women of all time? The achievements of great men and women of all times are to be attributed to the ability of those individuals to contact and use universal life energy. 2. Were they conscious of that cause? In most cases, they were not conscious of that cause, but in some cases they were conscious of it. 3. If any were, name several. The best known of those who consciously used universal life energy were Vishnu, Siva, Brahma, Krishna, Buddha, Moses, Solomon, the Queen of Sheba, Samson, Daniel, Elijah, Christ, and many other prominent but less known characters. 4. How far back in human history can the use of universal life energy be traced? The use of universal life energy can be traced beyond written history to times so remote that they are reached only by legend. 5. Was this knowledge of how to use universal life energy general, or was it restricted to a few individuals? The knowledge of how to use universal life energy has always been restricted to a few individuals until the present day. 6. If restricted, why was it not made general? This knowledge was not made general because the mass of humanity has never until now progressed to that stage of evolution where it is ready to receive it. 7. What has been the effect on nations of the capacity of its leaders to use universal life energy? The factor that has always determined a nation's progress size, the capacity of its leaders to use universal life energy. 8. Was this knowledge limited to any particular countries, religions, philosophies, or sciences? This knowledge was not limited to particular countries, religions, philosophies, or sciences. 9. In what human activities is the use of this power impossible? Branches of human activities in which the use of this power is impossible. They're unknown, of a positive and constructive nature. 10. Will the use of this power in modern times lead people to success? The use of this power in modern times is bound to lead people to success now as in the past. 11. Has the success of prominent people ever been easily attained? The success of prominent people has never been attained without hard work. 12. What is the simplest and most practical way to rise to prominence? The simplest and most practical way to rise to prominence is continually to contact and use universal life energy in all one's activities.